Welcome to Transparent with Tina. I'm Tina Marks, your host. Thank you for joining us today. My guest today started off on Wall Street and then he went to break a world's record. Yes, you heard me correctly, a world's record. Became an author and a professor. Please help me in welcoming my friend, Bill Morris. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Tina, how are you, sweetie?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
I guess this is the only way we can see each other these days.
Exactly. It's like we have to determine, are we wearing our daytime pajamas or our nighttime pajamas?
Oh, you got that one too? I saw that one. I thought it was pretty hysterical. Yeah. No, you feel so much better when you get dressed for the day. And you and I actually had a conversation 2 days ago about that.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're going out at all that day, it's just suit up for the day, right?
Exactly.
What changes this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get right into this. You started off on Wall Street, correct?
Yeah, technically I was recruited out of graduate school to work for Exxon Corporation. And I did really, really well with them. I had 4 or 5 promotions in the 4 or 5 years I was there. And then I got a call to head up international finance for one of the top investment banks on Wall Street. It was named Kidder Peabody. And I was in charge of international in everything that we did outside the country, which was London, Paris, Geneva, Zurich, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. And my office was down on Wall Street, and I did a lot of traveling. And so that's really kind of started my real career was on the street.
Mm-hmm. Okay, did you enjoy that?
You know, I didn't know any better. So it was.
Where did you graduate from? So you graduated with?
Yeah, my undergraduate was from Boston College.
Boston College, okay.
Yeah, and then my graduate was from Manhattan College.
Okay, so you obviously did you have a passion for finance, or you didn't know what else to
Yeah.
major in?
I thought I was going to be a doctor, and then I realized I fainted when I saw blood. So finance was my second choice.
Oh, finance was your second choice. But you wouldn't say it was your passion? It was just, tell me what was going through your mind when you majored in that, when you graduated. Where were you coming from, the school of, you have to be a doctor, you've got to be in finance, or you got to be an attorney in order to make money, in order to, provide. I mean, that was what was the norm back then, correct?
Yeah, I wasn't 1,000 years ago.
Not like it was 1,000 years ago. That was the norm in my time too, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the world wasn't filled with a ton of entrepreneurs, right?
Correct. Yes. To me, finance was something that ran everything, whether it was for-profit or non-for-profit. It's the underpinnings of all business, and I was always business orientated, so it worked out, just perfectly for me.
Okay. So then what was next? You were in finance for how many years before you?
I'm still in it. Right now I still do M&A transactions, which stands for mergers and acquisitions. So, after that stint on the street, I spent some time, I was received a great offer to become the CFO of a New York Stock Exchange company, which is located out here in California. And I made the transition, and it was a wonderful opportunity. And then after that, I was actually head of M&A for another New York Stock Exchange company. So I did spend a little time in corporate America before I, started the quest for entrepreneurship. One of the things that I do right now, Tina, is as you know, for the past 10 years, I've been teaching at UCI, University of California, Irvine. And I'm at the business school, the Paul Merage School of Business. And there's 2 courses that I teach there. One is strategy, and the other is entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I was part of that.
Yes, you were. Yes, I remember. That was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And which is so important. And when did you formulate those courses? Did you formulate them and bring them to UCI?
I think not strategy. Strategy is a core course for seniors and juniors undergrad. And the entrepreneur part of it, I did create the syllabus for that, and that's for undergrads as well as graduates.
Right, which I think is so important. I mean, they learn all this knowledge, but then how do you put it to use, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. There's a huge difference in academia the difference between being an academic and being a businessman. So technically what I do is bring the basic business skills that are real world, and the kids love that. So you can learn as much as you want in textbooks, but when you get out into the real world, it's somewhat different. And so I bring that difference into the classroom. And as you know, my final exam for that particular course was Shark Tank.
Exactly. And that gets them up there to speak. So they have to deal with public speaking. They've got to completely flesh through their idea to get the audience to either say yay or not nay. I thought it was a brilliant idea. And, teamwork involves teamwork. So when I participated in that, it was for my company. And so I had my team, and I think they did a good job. That was a couple of years ago. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was great. And I thought everybody had, I think they learned a lot from that. I think you've gotten a lot of great feedback from that class, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got over 1,000 letters from my students because I give 100% of myself to the kids.
Yes.
One of the things I always say when we start class in the beginning of the semester is they all become my adoptive kids. And so I don't want them living in my basement when they graduate. So I help them find a job as well. And, so I just love my kids. It's just what it's all about.
It's a bond, also for sure. My clients, I feel the same way about. I mean, they're not just, a business. They are family, truly family.
Absolutely.
So did you, so you wrote a book, The Formula for Success, which by the way, I've read it. It's a great book. It's very concise. It's very easy to read. It's a very simple, complex concept, very simple concept, but not so easy for most people to apply. Would you say?
Well, I break it down. This is the book. I mean, it's on Amazon. I made it so that it was really, you can see how thin it is.
Camera so we can see, Bill.
Yeah, you can see how, basically how thin it is.
We're going to put thumbtack up there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the concept was I wanted so many people to have this, and I made it so that it was under $10 and it was under 100 pages. I had a boss on Wall Street. He once said, if you can't put it on the back of your business card, don't bother telling me. So we kind of talk in sound bites. We just get right to the point. And this formula for success is really, in simple terms, a three-legged stool: mental, physical, and spiritual. How to get it together. And if you can picture that three-legged stool and one of the legs is not there, the stool doesn't stand. So it's how to get your life into balance.
Absolutely. And let's just take that concept for a moment, the three-legged stool. I think most people, they think if they push hard enough and they work all those hours, and let's say they neglect their health or they don't exercise, they think they push, because I know a lot of people go, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to figure out what my dietary, meals are going to be every day. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to meditate or journal or, listen to a podcast and feed my mind with something really positive and spiritual. What happens to that person that just works?
They die. and they die unhappy. I always say that people need three things in life. They need hope, they need love, and they need sense of purpose. Mm-hmm. And so those that just work and might have that sense of purpose, but if they don't have the other two elements, you're basically going to starve yourself to death.
Right, exactly. And so have you had teenagers read this book?
Oh yeah, I make my students get it. I say if they can't afford the $10, let me know, I'll get you a copy. It's all about really understanding the simple principles. That's why you can read this thing in a couple hours and it's over with. But the most core issue in here is really how to set your goals. There's so many people that come to me and say, Bill, I really don't know, where I'm going. And I always say it's like Goldilocks when she gets to that, the crossing the road there, with the Mad Hatter, I think asked her, where are you going? And she goes, I don't know. And then he looks at the roads and goes, well, any of those roads will take you there. Right. So you have to kind of really define really what makes you happy, and then kind of delta off that and really design your goals in a way. And and we can talk about that in a minute, but it's really about how to set the goals, how to deal with setbacks, which is huge, how to create a PMA, a positive mental attitude. These are the elements that kind of go into making you successful. We all have more failures than we have successes. And it's how to deal with those failures, I think, is the number one element of success.
Absolutely. Because failure is part of success, but most people, we take it, and me included over the years, have taken it so personally, it can knock you down for a day, a month, or years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Depending on how you let it. So you actually address this in the book of how to deal with disappointment and how to deal with failure. But before that, let's just talk about goal setting, because this honestly, the last couple of years is the first time in my whole life that I actually made goals. And now I'm really making them very stringent, very, specific to dates, like when I want this accomplished by. I shared my last show or the show before, it was one of these shows recently, the importance of time blocking, which is crucial for me because I'm very ADD. The day can just get away with me. If I don't look and say, okay, Tina, it's 9 o'clock, what are you supposed to be doing at 9 o'clock? Or it's 11 o'clock, what are you supposed to, I have my clients, obviously, that I get many notifications of when I'm scheduled to do them. But I'm talking about the other things that need to be done, whether it's for your business or it's done for personal or, for your household or whatever it is. And tell me if you think this is true. I think for me, the reasons that I didn't set goals earlier was maybe that I didn't believe I could achieve them.
Wow. Interesting. Well, if we go back in time when you said about goals, let me ask you the fundamental first question I always ask. Did you actually write your goals down?
No, I didn't. I never did that before because I think I was I didn't even dare dream of goals. Right?
Yeah. See, and
seriously, that's where I was.
Yeah, and you just hit a very important word, and that was dream. And when I do a seminar or I'm speaking at a major group, I always say, just out of curiosity, how many people have dreams? Just raise your hand. And everybody raises their hand. And I say, well, you know what? The way I look at it, dreams are bullshit. Dreams and goals are identical, except for one thing. Goals have target dates for completion.
Yeah.
Dreams are just dreams, So one of the elements that I always talk about is there's 7 or 8 steps that I always use in goal setting, but probably the most important one is writing them down. And I said, I had one audience member once said, why is that important? I said, well, it was a young girl, and I said to her, well, if your boyfriend gave you 2 choices where he calls you on the phone and he says, ooh, baby, 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 I love you, I love you, I love you. Or he could write you a love song and give it to you and sing it to you. Which would you choose? And obviously she's going to choose the love song because it's written down and she can look at that for the rest of her life. Once you commit to writing things on paper, it's an issue that kind of holds you accountable. A lot of people will say to me, well, God, Bill, that's an effort. Well, so is success. I write my goals down and I post them on my lamp. So it's the last thing I see when I go to bed.
Post on your lamp. Yeah. I was going to say, you do print them somewhere where you can see them once a day, right?
Absolutely. And I see them the first thing when I wake up because it's right there posted. And so I keep very, very, focused on what I'm trying to achieve.
Right. And do you do them? So are these longer term goals? Do you set daily goals too?
No, they're basically short-term goals. The long-term goals, that's a whole nother topic for another discussion.
So let's say you have a goal that you want to come to fruition in 3 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's daily goals to steps to get to that goal. Right.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. As you know, I set the world record for consecutive sit-ups.
Okay, well, just go right into that. Yes.
No, this is
the Guinness World Record for consecutive sit-ups, and you're not going to believe how many he did. And what year was this, by the way?
Oh God, I think I was 40 years old. So it
40
was
years
like
old,
yeah.
just a couple years ago. And you did it, didn't you? You did it for a cause.
Yes, exactly. When I worked on Wall Street, I was part of the board of directors of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so for every sit-up I would do, I had my employer donate money. And I also got pledges from other corporations, and I also got other people to do them with me. And it was a big event on the street for 5 years. So I did this for 5 years in a row. The first year I did 5,000. Second year I did 10,000. Then I did 15,000. Then I did 20,000. I actually did 25 the year after, but I don't count that because I took some potty breaks. But the 5, 10, 15, and 20 were all consecutive. And the 20, it took me 11 hours and 32 minutes. And, you know, the funny thing is somebody said, well, why is the record 20,100? And I said, well, because when I just got to that 20,000 mark, ABC, NBC, and CBS were coming in with their cameras. And I didn't want them to interview me in the bathroom. So I just kept going. And that's why I did an extra 100. So,
you had more
yeah,
than you thought. And more.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I got in the bathroom. I had to go to the bathroom so bad, I can't even, to this day, I can remember the pain. But anyway, we raised a lot of money for the kids, and over the years, definitely over 150,000. So
was that your motivation, or was it you against yourself and you just wanted to challenge yourself, or was it a combination of the two?
Yeah, no, it was really,
I mean,
yeah, it was really somewhat of a combination of the two. And I'll tell you how it got started. So I set a goal for myself that on my 35th birthday, I was going to be able to do 3,500 sit-ups. And, you know, I trained for 2 years. I started at 33, and I trained, I ate right, I slept right, I did everything that I was supposed to do. And on my 35th, birthday, I went to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I put down a matchstick for every 100 I did. And I ended up with 35 matchsticks.
Yeah.
And I did my 3,500 for my 35th birthday. So I went into my chairman at Kidder Peabody, which was Al Gordon, and Al had more money than God. And I said, Al, I want you to, you know, I just came up with this idea of doing a sit-up-a-thon for Make-A-Wish. And I said, Al, I want you to give me $1 a sit-up. And he goes, okay, you got it. I mean, this was like coffee money for him. So the first year, that's all the money we raised was $5,000. But, you know, years and years after that, we got so many other followers. But the funny thing is that when I did the 3,500, I knew I could do 5,000. And this brings me to another point. So this is an interesting point, because as I reflect back on that time, the next year I did 10,000, and I had a guy come up to me. I swear to God, this is an absolute true story. So he comes up to me after I did the 5,000, somewhere between the 5 and 10, and he says, Bill, you know, you're going to double it? What are you, crazy? And this guy actually injected a negative thought into my head, which I actually possessed for 24 hours. I was thinking, you know, God, maybe the guy's right. You know, maybe. And then I got to the point where I was like, whoa, this guy doesn't know me. He doesn't know how I train. To me, this was a few thousand more. Mm-hmm. And so I just basically washed this negative thought out of my head. And the reason I'm bringing this up is this. People will put negative thoughts in your head all the time. I don't rent space in my head for negative people. As soon as I do, I shut them down and they're out. You know, it's something I practiced from that day. That was a lesson for me, to have this guy come up to me and doubt me. And from that day forward, I've never really entertained any negative people.
You know, Bill, that's so interesting, because I just did a post the other day about this, because in my first book, The Domino Effect, I refer to people like that as dream smashers. I said, be very careful with who you share your dreams with, because the people that have not achieved their dreams are most likely going to shit all over them. Sorry.
That's right.
That's what was going to happen.
Loves company. You're right.
It's misery loves company. It reminds them of what they know they should be doing. They haven't been accountable to themselves. And I don't even think it's a vicious thing. I don't even know if it's a conscious thing, but it does happen. And it sets you back. And the same thing happened to me for years. I would surround myself with people that would tell me I couldn't do it. And, you know, and you are what you tell yourself, you know? And that was actually going to be my next question to you, because I've known you for years and years and years. And you've been one of my coaches throughout the years. And never once, I've got to be honest with you, never once have I got you on the phone and I've said, hey, how you doing? I'm doing great. You know, and you know, I'm saying, can anybody really always be that great? Because you know what? You can't say the same for me every time I call you. But I want to ask you, I'm getting better at that, by the way. But let me ask you, what do you attribute to that always, you know, looking at the bright side? I mean,
that's a good question, Tina. You know, I'll tell you exactly what it is. I know exactly what it is. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and my mom died at 48 years old, and she suffered from cancer. And this woman went through 24 operations, never once complained. I mean, I was there when I was, you know, holding her head when she was throwing up from chemotherapy. And this woman still was a bright star. And I'm thinking, Jesus, she's got everything to complain about, but doesn't complain. What do I have to complain about? Mm-hmm. And from that day forward, when I was a young kid, in my early 20s, I just never complained. It's just one of those things. I'm a happy guy. I also have a great pharmacist.
What did you say?
I also have a great pharmacist. No.
I know that's not true. You're straight as an arrow.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Oh, but you know,
I've taken aspirin.
Yeah, but you know, let me tell you something. That's so true. You know, it's proven that whatever you dwell upon grows, right? So, you know, even if you're not having the best day, I was having this conversation recently. You know, those people that were whoever they come in contact with, because whether you're at the grocery store or, you know, pre-pandemic, of course. How are you doing today? Well, and then they tell their story, right? And then they'll go to the dry cleaner and they'll tell their story. And by the end of the day, it's gone from bad to worse, right? So I've made the point, you know, not to be disingenuous, but when somebody says, how are you doing? Sometimes I do need to vent. Sometimes I need to get off my chest, but I've really gotten the habit of saying, I'm doing great. I may not feel great at the moment, but if I keep saying that to the next person, I'm doing it. I feel my emotions in my body lifting. I feel my energy raising. And before you know it, I am great. True?
That's great. That's a wonderful way to kind of do it. You know, for me, I think when people say, how you doing? It's really lip service. They really don't care, to be honest with you. I mean, so, you know, I could say, well, listen, I just shot 4 people and I feel really good. You know, then we go, oh, that's really great. You know, wonderful. But, you know, I don't get caught up in that stuff. I mean, that's, you know, I live within myself and I in my inner circle, and that's all that's important to me.
Do you have, I know you work out religiously every day, and what you can bench press, what are you bench pressing now? I mean,
I always say somewhere between 700 and 800 pounds. No, I'm joking.
You know, 700, 800 is true because I've seen you do it on video. But let me ask you, do you have a morning routine every morning? Is there any guidelines that you do every day to make sure that you stay mentally, physically, and spiritually in balance?
Yeah, I go directly to the coffee pot. Have my first cup of coffee. You know, I don't live in a religious monk style like that. I accomplish a lot of things during the course of the day. Of course, I have a to-do list and all those kind of things. But you know, everybody has a different methodology to achieve certain things, and I don't think there's any one right answer. Mm-hmm. I think it all just reverts back to accomplishing the goals that you set for yourself, and just being, you know, in the present. That to me is what it's all about. That's, you know, when people come to me and they're really down and depressed, they're very, very quick to give me a list of those things that suck. And when I asked them, to give me a list of the things that they feel that they're blessed with, like the ability to walk, the ability to see, et cetera, those things don't even resonate, And I'm saying, well, you really got to focus in on what you have as opposed to what you have not. And then once you set that mind frame, you're much better off.
Absolutely. So that's what we do every day. It's the gratitude list, what you're appreciative. So would you say that that's kind of your exercise for keeping your spirit? Because you said the three-legged stool, mind, body, spirit, right? So we already know what you do for your mind. You read a lot, right? And you exercise every day. So for your spirit, would you say that would be the number one thing that you do, is that you are grateful?
Number one thing for my spirit is to help other people. To me, that's my purpose in life. And that's what I love doing, whether it's be my students or it could be anybody.
Because we've gotten into a world, I think you would agree, that everybody thinks if I give to you, I'm taking away from myself. I don't have the time the way it is, and I don't have the money to loan to somebody. The bottom line is everybody's got this backwards. The more that you give, the more you have to give.
Absolutely.
The more that you feel better about yourself. I mean, it's in the giving.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. Listen, it could be something even small, Tina, I'm thinking the last thing. So I went to dinner with my son, and I kind of eat like a bird anyway, but if I had like food left over, I always have it wrapped up and packaged. And I always make an attempt to find homeless people and just give it to them. This sounds like a little stupid thing, but that completes me. That makes me feel good. That you're doing something for another human being. To me, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if we just did that once a day, it would keep us in balance, because balance is the most difficult thing to stay in balance. So absolutely. So what would you say is one takeaway that you would give to our viewers and our listeners? If you had one takeaway, one piece of something that could change somebody's life.
Yeah. So in my book, I talk about, creating a PMA, or a positive mental attitude.
Okay.
I think it's a bifurcated road. So there's two paths. One is a positive mental attitude, and the other is a negative mental attitude. And I say, always think of it like a faucet. Like you're standing at the sink and you're reaching out for the hot and the cold water. You can turn either one of them just as easy. So go for the positive, because don't rent space out in your head to negative thoughts or negative people.
Yes.
Just, and practice it. It's all about practice.
It is, because you can't help what thoughts come into your mind, but you can certainly control the ones that stay in your mind. And I think if people understood the connection between that and the end result, which is your life, they would be more likely to do exactly what you just said. Because the way it goes, whatever you think, then it attributes to the way you feel. The way you feel attributes to your behavior, and your behavior becomes your life, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
You don't like the way your life looks, you might want to, you start up here, right?
Amen. It starts in the brain.
Exactly. Okay. So what's next for you? What's next on the agenda? Do you have any new projects coming up, or do you have anything, another book maybe?
I got nothing.
Nothing right now.
Pajamas. No, I think my last major goal was to qualify for the American Ninja Warrior. And I trained and I trained and I trained, and they really loved my videos and so on and so forth. And they said, well, we want you to redo the video. And I redid it, never heard from them again. So I didn't make the show, and that was kind of a bummer, but everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so I'm cool with that. But that was my last major, go for it type of thing. I wanted to be the T-Rex, that completed the course.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have your world record to hang on to. Okay.
yeah. That and a token will get you to somewhere. But it's an old expression. Sorry. I don't think they even use tokens anymore. Listen, I think it's just about, I would be much happier knowing that I could change, 90 of my students' lives rather than the world record. I mean, that's neither here nor there. That was just something I did and accomplished, but helping people is what it's all about.
Exactly. I agree. And they can get your book on Amazon. Again, it's called The Formula for Success. So you should all, go out and read that. And also if you have any teenagers, my son loved the book. And like Bill was saying, it's easy to read, it's condensed, it's concise, it doesn't go on forever. So it's like a pocket manual is kind of like what it is. So
Exactly.
You do it every day and go, oh, I need that section today. So anyway, well, thank you for being on, my friend, and thank you for sharing your story.
Anytime, Tina.
And we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in today. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. It's Tina Marks TV, and you can also visit my website, transparentwithtina.com. We'll see you next week.
With my soul shine.